Hi, this is Bonnie, and as I promised in my last video, I said we were going to do some coloring of the new release, and that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a card together and show you how we can get coloring on some of the new stamps. So I'm going to be using Vanilla Cloud, which is the newest paper pad, and I am going to be using, this time I'm going to be using Whittaker, and I'm going to show you how I colored up the cat that I made in a different card, and I can even show you that too in a minute. So this is one of the papers, and this is Whittaker, and I am using this grip mat behind, which has been very helpful. I am going to be using VersaFine Clear Nocturne for this, and this will also show you how great these stamp. Let that soak in just a little bit, or we can always do another stamping. Yeah, it looks really good, but I'm going to make it just a little bit darker. And I'll show you that up close. Okay. You can see how great those stamp. They're just great. So my scene for today is going to be Halloween. Halloween is on Tuesday, but I'm going to go ahead and do a Halloween card anyway. The next thing I'm going to use is Spooky Moons, and I'm using the largest one, and I'm going to be putting that up here. And for this, I want it to be a little bit softer and not as harsh looking, so I'm going to be using VersaFine Clear Morning Mist. I also like to use the Lost Shadow Distress Oxide because that's really a nice light. I wish that VersaFine Clear made a really lighter gray, but they don't. So we're going to use this. And I don't care if I don't get a really crisp image for this one, but that worked pretty good. All right. So then the next thing, I'm just rolling right along here, is I am going to be using the flying bats, and the flying bats are just going to be coming out this way. And again, I don't really need that magnet, but I'll put it there. I'm going to make it look like it's just coming from flying away from the cat. And in this case, I am going to be using Nocturne. This will, once you figure out what your scene is, it goes quite quickly. And most of these, other than the first one right here, are all on sale currently on Fairy Hugs, Fairy Stamper, and also Julia Watts in the UK has the Halloween all on sale. You need to check those places out. I'll have those links in the description below. I'm also going to be using, let's see what this one's called, Spiders and Webs. I really like adding that to the moon. I've done that before, but I don't know if I'm going to do that this time. I wasn't really sure about this part, if I was going to add any spiders or anything. And I don't think I'm going to. I could even have added one to his tail, but I have something else I want to put on here. So we'll just see. I might not use the spider webs at all. I do know that I have Ziggy and I have Shadow. And I bought these twice. And again, this is a perfect time for you to buy these because, like I said, they're on sale. And they're like 50% off or 30% off, depending on where you go. And so I've got two of these, and I cut off the little pumpkins because I wanted to use those, not just on here, but I wanted to use those separately. So I'm going to go ahead and get these set up on here, making sure I've got them the right way around because I really don't want a sideways pumpkin. And I'm going to set those back here on his bike. And again, to match with the same ink color, I'm going to use Nocturne. Now, I did cut this as close as I could to the handles, but I can see on here I should have probably cut this one even a little bit closer, so I'm going to take the ink off with my finger as best I can. And that worked. Can you see? I'll pull that up closer. So I've got a little jack-o'-lantern sitting back there. And that one is from Ziggy, and this one is from Shadow. Get the ink off my thumb. And I'm just going to have that one stacked to the side. And just like that. I'll probably add more to this, but I just wanted to get a little bit of it stamped so you could see how we're going to color up Whittaker. Again, I can see I could have cut the handles off closer on this one too, but again, I'm just going to use my thumb and take off a little bit of that ink at the top. So these would be really fun to continue, like if you wanted to have a little row of these, or if you wanted to use those in any way. They're really fun, as you can see, to stamp, and it's perfect for Halloween. I want to see if there's something else I can do with these. I'm just trying to think. Spiders, but might be I'm not going to be able to do anything. I really wanted to have something coming off the moon, but I don't think that's going to work. So I might end up with a sentiment or something. But anyway, we're good. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off and get us all set up to color up Whittaker for now. I'll probably, like I said, add more to him, to the card, and I'll show you what that's like. At the beginning of the video, you'll always see the finished at the beginning. I also wanted to show you, I did stamp Whittaker on the other paper we have that was just released, so that you can see what it's like to color on both. So I'm going to go ahead and get my pencils out and we'll get coloring. Okay, so I'm going to color this kitty black, or dark gray, and I wanted to show you, this was the one that I colored first, and I kind of like tried to color this kitty, kind of like our design team member, Julia Watts. I'm calling this Ed, when I made this card. So, but for today, we're going to do, I'm going to probably do both colors, because I have the extra one. I'm going to do this one because it's more Halloween. So this one's going to be more of a, I want to say a darker. I don't want to make it too dark because I want to see the lines and detail on the stamp. That's the plan for this. And so right now what I am doing is I am thinking in terms of where the shadows would be. There is no artist detail to let me know where that's at. So what I'm thinking is like this right here is the hind leg, and there would be a little bit of a shadow between the hind leg and the body. And then I'm saying the moon is coming from this, the light from the moon is coming from that direction. So everything behind would be darker. That is typically what you try to do. And again, I don't always do that perfectly. I also like to make things work for what my image is, and so that I don't lose the details of the image either. So like I said, I'm thinking in terms of the moon. We are going to give a little bit of a moon glow to our cat, just because this is more of a Halloween image. And like I said, if you pay attention to what I just try to do here is, again, I'm thinking of shading. And again, you also have to think if you have shading against the back of something, sometimes that gets lost. And you have to leave a little bit of a space to make it lighter. So the body, the belly of the cat is going to be lighter. Now, and you can see this cat at one time is supposed to be more of a stripy cat. And it's not that it can't still be a stripy cat, but I think I'm going to kind of ignore the stripey part of it and just color it in like I'm going to make a darker cat. I am going to give a little bit of darkness to this, the bridge of the nose. And I'm going to come over here and give a little bit of shading. Now, it's true, the light would be up there at the top of the head and also this side, but I still need a little bit of dark, and I can still add a little bit of glow if I want to the cat. So that's how quick that first layer is. And what I used was, I'm using Prismacolor pencils, and you can just make sure if you want to do blending, just use a darker shade, and this one is a gray, the darkest gray. Then I'm going to go to, I'm skipping one, and I'm going to go to the next gray down, or you might want to say lighter, because sometimes if I want to really make the blend, I'll go to the next color, but because this is a smaller image, there's not a lot of space to add a lot of different colors. So this is, like I said, it's going to be more like a gray cat with a highlight from the moon. And for right now, you can almost not even see too much of the shading that I've already done, and I can come back in and add more of that dark if I want to, or I can add some black. But I go this way first, and I come back and add, so if I need more of a contrast, I'll come back. And sometimes it might not be the darkest gray that I use. I might come back in with a black, like I said, which makes sense. But sometimes you have to kind of like see how your pencils, whatever pencils you have, will work. And I always try to keep it a little bit lighter around the eyes so that you can see them. Might add a little bit right here underneath the nose. So I'm going to get that just a little bit closer, and you can kind of see where I'm going. So I usually do 3 colors in terms of shading, if you want to call it that, coloring. I usually have the darkest, medium, and then light, depending on the size of the image. If there's hardly any space, it doesn't always happen. So now for this one, I'm skipping again, because I'm going to show you, this was 50%, this was 90%, and now I'm going to 30%. And when the images are smaller, it's important to keep your pencil sharpened, so you can stay, if you want to stay in the lines. And of course this lid right now wants to wobble, because I probably didn't sharpen that correctly. But it'll work for what we're doing right now. All right, I'm going a little bit in the ears, but I am going to add a little bit of pink, I think, to that too. Okay, so I'm going to come back in. See, it did not matter what my color was behind. I did not have a solid background color, and I was able to color on top of this without it making any difference. It does make a difference in what it is. You'll see in the other one too, I used a little bit of a lighter paper. But so anyway, I'm going to go ahead and use, this is a lighter color. Whoops, like I said, my lead is broken, so I'm going to have to sharpen that really quickly. But I'm going to color the belly with this lighter color. And then I'm going to actually use the paper in the background as my advantage to not having to color in this case. So I'm going to come back down here, add a little bit of color. I might even add a little bit more darkness down there to give it a little bit of a shading. But you see, look, how that actually just tied into the color that was underneath. I am going to come back up with the 50% and give that a little bit of shading down here. Not much. Okay. I think technically that's how quickly that can be to color him up. Now I want to give him a little bit of a glow from the moon. So what I'm going to use, this one is called Pale Sage, and it doesn't look like much, but it gives the glow. And all I'm going to do is go on top of the highlight, or the parts that would be really glowing in the moon. And if I don't think I have enough color, I'll come back in with even one that gives it a little bit more glow. But I'm thinking this one looks pretty good. And it may be harder for you to see, but I'll show you in a second, close up. You can see the glow on that, the green. And I'm going to do the top of the tail here. So anything that would be the light from the moon would go on that. Would be great. Okay, so that's how that would look. And I am, just to let you know, I am going to come in here and I'm going to color in all this part of the moon, not the black part, but all this background part. I will color all of that in so that the glow, you can see that the glow is coming from the same color on the cat from the moon. Again, this is really easy coloring. It's just filling in those spaces to make it all make sense. So as I'm doing this, I'm thinking about what's the next step? What am I going to be coloring next? I'm going to be coloring the cat's scarf. And again, this is Halloween, and you have to decide, well, what color would be a good color? And you can do orange, you could still do a red, because red works too for Halloween, a rust, any of those colors. You could do Harry Potter color, so many things you can pick. You just sit there and you think about, what do I want? What do I want in this design? I'm just going to go with the orange, and I think I might even add, just for fun, to show you, you can add stripes. So I'm going to do the orange first. I'm going to make sure that my pencil is sharpened because this space is a little bit smaller. And what's cool about this particular stamp, it allows you to make whatever color you want, or just to leave it the way it is. It could be a gray scarf. Now, again, if I'm going to be doing shading, I think I'm going to add that this time. So I am going to add stripes, and I'm going to make them so that they're vertical. And so I'm just, whoops, again, there goes my, I am not sharpening these very well today. Let me get that a little bit better. Sorry about that. Okay, now we're good. All right. So like I said, I'm doing vertical stripes. And you can make them as thin, as thick as you want, because you're doing it. And they don't have to be perfect, because quite frankly, you know, it just doesn't have to be perfect. All right, so you can see so far, I try to keep them semi the same, but not really following the same ones up above. All right, so yep, we're gonna still go this way. And you can see how quick that is. That's pretty quick. All right, so I'm not gonna get out the black, but I kind of like the gray in there. So I'm just gonna test this. So I'm just gonna put a tiny stripe on the other side of the orange to see if I want to keep it with a little bit of gray. And I think I do. So I'm just going on the right side of the orange stripe. All right. It doesn't need to be, you can just color it one color, and if you wanted to shade it, you could, and I can do that with the other one if you want to see that one too. So then now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take that lighter color of gray, but it really does need to be sharpened again. Actually, sometimes what takes the longest is just preparing what you're doing, like sharpening a pencil and keep sharpening it. So now I'm going to come in so this kind of blends. And I'm going to get that a little bit closer so you can see how I'm doing that. I'm going to have to turn it sideways so you can see my coloring, because I need to color in the direction of what I did. And I'm just kind of like, when I go over this, it blends it together. Doesn't make it as dark, but it looks like it all is one. And if you feel that it's too light on you, you know, you want it darker, you can always come back in and add more color. This is the way that I think I like this. So I'm just trying to soften those lines of what I colored to begin. Okay? And that's how his scarf would look. And again, if you want to add a little bit of shading, I would do this one's the 50% gray that I used. And I look again at this and I say, okay, this is underneath those pieces. And I add just a little bit of shading there, the darker shading. Again, not necessary, I'm just showing you the next step. Because it still looks good. And then this piece right here is on top of that one. So right underneath that piece, that would be a shadow. I'm darkening that part right there. Okay, there's not a big contrast. If you want a big contrast, go for a darker color. And then you see how this dips right here? That would give it dimension, just to give a little bit of darkness to that. And it could down here too. And like I said, if you want it to be darker, what I would do is, this is a color that I did not use. It would have been, that's 30. It would have been the 70. And so just to show you the difference, which I'm fine to showing, this is the 70 instead of the 50. And that just gives it a little bit darker shade, you know, shading of what I just showed you with the lighter. Not that big of a deal, but you can kind of see the difference. All right, so I'm going to get some pink out, a lighter pink. This one is Deco Pink, and you can see that it's lighter. I'm just going to add a tinge of that to the ears, and I'm going to add, won't even probably see much of it, but I'm going to add a little bit to the cheeks because I like to do that. And then that tongue needs to be darker, so I need to go with a little bit darker pink. And there's just a spot. So that's how the cat could end up looking, depending on what color you make him. Now I really need to do these pumpkins, and I want them to glow. So we have a pencil that is called, let's see, Sunburst Yellow. And I'm just going to go in there and color that mouth in, the eyes, and the nose. And then they have a little bit of a glow, gives it a little bit more of a Halloween look. That works really well. Now I need to think about what color I would really like this to be. And I think because I'm trying to stay with some of these colors, I am going to go with the glow on the top part. And then I'm just going to come out with a green underneath that would go. And that would be, I think this works. It might be a little bit brighter than what I want. Chartreuse underneath. I think that works. Kind of gives us our Halloween colors. And in fact, I might even add a little bit of that chartreuse to a little bit of the glow up above. I think that might look nice. Just a little bit. and that would be the underneath color, because the lighter color would be the one on top. I think that looks pretty good. And you could even come back in here, add a little bit of that in certain places, and you'd have it in your... So that really looks like it could be a night scene. Again, like I will probably put like, I'll use my ripped paper to give this a grounding, so it looks like he's actually riding on something and not in the air. So that's how I would do that one. And I wanted to, like I said, you don't have to stick around for this, but this is just to give you an idea. This is the other one I wanted to show you. This is the one I think I'll go ahead and do very similar to this one. And to do that, I'm going to be using more of a rust color. I'm just kind of like keep this to the side. I think, oh, maybe it won't fit in here because I'm too close. Yeah, I'm too close. I can't really show you at the same time. So again, I have 3 colors. This one's called Pumpkin Orange, and this is going to be my darkest color. Same concept, totally, other than a different color of what I just showed you. And I'm going to come into all the same places. And because, like I said, this already has the stripes in it, I don't really have to be that fussy about the shading either, which I really wasn't before. But you'll be able to see the difference between the two, and I'm doing this one really quickly. And again, I'm looking for where the shadows would be. And you know, the more you color, you can add more details, and you'll understand where to put the shading. In this case, I don't have a moon right now, but I could always add a moon, and then that would reflect the colors of the cat, if I wanted to add glow to him or not. Right now, I'm just going to simply show you how you can color him, which again is similar to what I just did with the dark. And right now, like I said, I'm using the darkest color of the 3. Okay, so that was the first one. The second one would be called, oh, it's so tiny I can't even tell you the name of it. But let's see what I can do. I can tell you the number. Okay, this one is 1033. It says orange mineral. I'm pretty sure that's what it is in English too. So this is basically just more of a blending color. It's a little bit lighter, but you can see the difference between the two, but it blends. And the tail really doesn't have much space to color, so I don't use a lot. But I do still give it the 3 different shades. Underneath, probably not so much with that foot. He almost, which I try to be really careful, he almost looks like a tiger when I use the colors, but when I got all said and done, it wasn't. He ended up not looking like a tiger, but they kind of do. They're just a lighter color cat. They just don't have the stripes, the dominant black stripes. Okay, so that's this color. And the next one I did, it's called Goldenrod. And you can see what I'm saying. It needs to be sharper than that. And so I'm constantly using these pencils and constantly sharpening them, which is okay. It doesn't take that long. It's just that when you're in a video, it seems like it does. So this would be my next color up. And it has a bit of a golden color to it. I really like it, just like it said, golden. I really like this combination. One of my favorites. And every time I color, it's different. It just is. And I kind of like the fact that it's not that they are a little bit more unique each time. They're not, oh, they look similar, but they're not the same. Okay, so those are the 3 colors that I would use. And this lighter color, I would come down here and add just a little bit, and that would be the shading. And again, I want to point out that the color behind is not, although I did choose one that is a little bit lighter, is not affecting the color of your image. It just depends on what paper you use. If it was a real bold color, obviously. Okay, so there's one more color actually for this that I do use. And it is, this one's called Peach. I'm going to have to use it even though it needs to be sharpened. And the peach is just a lighter color of that orange. Now there's another direction you can go in. You could actually make it have more yellow instead of this peach. You'd go the direction of the yellow. Okay, so it's not a whole lot different. Now, say you want to have a little bit more of a contrast. So you look at it and say, ah, it looks like it's all one. You can always, one of the things that's nice about gray is you can always come in with a gray because it always basically works with most colors. And that is what I'm doing right here. Everything that I colored with that first color, I'm coming back in on top of it with a gray. And this gray is the 50%. Just to give me a little bit more contrast. Gray, kind of like, it's a, I want to say, is a nice neutral color to giving us the shading. And you can see how that gives us a little bit. I'll lift that up for you. It just dulls the color a little to give it that shading. Okay, I'm just going to show you how that does work. Now, I'm going to go ahead and add the pink to the mouth, and in this case I'm going to make it a little bit darker in the ears. And we have the cat done. So then if we want to do the scarf, what I did was I did a red, but because this is on this color, like I did a red on this one, I thought it looked really good. Red is really nice, it pops, but I think for this one, we're gonna go with a purple, just because I think that it would be fun to show a different color. And to do that, I need to find a darker purple. And again, this still could be for Halloween because it's purple, or it could just be for birthday. So this one happens to be violet. And remember I told you this is just gonna be a plain scarf. I'm not gonna add any stripes or anything. This is gonna be, it might not be my darkest color, but right now it's my darkest color. I'm trying to match what's in the background. I'm trying to pick up on that purple. And you can see how I'm just doing the shading now, which is a little bit different than what I did with the first one because I did the stripes. So now I'm just doing the shading. All right. And then I'm going to go with what I would consider a medium color. And this one is lilac. And I'm just picking up from that, kind of like you would blending. It's almost like ombre in a way. And you can see how that's going. I think I'm going to leave this out because I'm also probably going to do that for the bike. And then the next color would be a little bit, I think I'm going to do, this one's too pink. So I'm going to do the lightest one, which is one of my most used colors. I can't even read what it says. Lavender. It is lavender, but I don't know what kind of lavender. All right, but the number, just to let you know, just in case you're 1026. And all I'm going to do is come down here, and like I said, it goes really good because it's like blending in really well with the background too. Yeah, it looks more like an ombre. So that's super easy. All you do is, like I said, for the most part, you're just doing shading. You can add all kinds of things like I showed you with the stripes in the first one. But that's just your plain scarf. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing down here for the bike. Use the exact same colors, but kind of go in reverse. This is the darkest down here. Not really reverse. Okay, and the medium color. And then your light color. And you have a second cat colored with a different concept. I will be adding more to this card. It's just I wanted to give you an idea of how you could color your images. I think I'm going to give him a little bit of pink cheeks. I don't know if you can see that on here either. A little bit. Okay, so we're done. And again, I'm going to show you the difference you can have with your cats. I'll lift this up. And you can see there's a variety. There's one that's, you have quite a variety here. So again, I appreciate you stopping by. I will have the information below in the description, and hope to see you again soon.